Come on, Facebook. Okay, sending data. YouTube is online. Facebook is being Facebook. Well, Twitch is online, apparently. All right, well, I'm just going to have to hope Facebook decides it wants to. So, anyway. All right. Welcome to Captain Mudslinger's neighborhood. It's been too long since my last video. I moved the screen over a little bit so I can look. Anyway, that was a Catholic joke. It's too long since my last confession. Anyway, got a list here. Oh, well, these glasses. I got different glasses for this is close up and this is far away. Thanks for laughing. Okay, I wanted to talk about a couple of things. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on in the world today. I have done a lot of videos earlier in the summer, and I tried to make all of them positive and not political at all. I'm just happy videos of paintings and pottery and pastels. And there they are. Anyway, but I feel we have free speech still, and I just wanted to, but why should I pay attention to you? What the heck do you know? Well, so I thought, and most people probably have never been in my studio and don't know who I am. So I do something, you can see the pottery wheels here. I do something I call a getaway day in the clay. And actually, tomorrow, January 6th, is my 15th anniversary. I will have been teaching pottery out of my studio here for 15 years. And so I'm going to tell that story, because before I say what I want to say, because why should I, well, I'll just introduce myself. And, okay, well, and this big blob of clay here is just that. It's freshly recycled clay, which means at one time it was yuck and muck, and I reconditioned it, and I just barely wedged it, so it's just probably riddled with air bubbles, and I'm just going to probably make something with it or whatever and just then trash it. But anyway, so how long have you been working with clay, Captain Mudslinger? My real name was Kevin O'Hara. Anyway, I started working with clay when I was a freshman in high school, and that was probably back in '73. I'm the fifth of 7 kids. And my high school teacher was a really good potter. And I hung out in the art room because I wasn't a jock, and I wasn't a nerd or a freak or not a freak probably anyway. But no, I hung out in the art room. That's just was never really a cliquey person. But my instructor was pottery teacher was a really good potter, and I pretty much got a college level education in high school. Anyway, yeah, he was something. Well, one of my jobs was at Comcast. I'll get to that later. But, yeah, said I was going to leave tell some dirty details. My high school teacher, pottery teacher who taught me, like I said, gave me a college level education in ceramics, he used to like to pet the little girls. Yeah, and I used to notice that all the time. He'd just, well, you're doing such a good job. And, I'm in high school, and I don't. So, when I was, I think, a sophomore in college, that's when I heard that he was put in jail. Yeah, so people are something. So yeah, they make you enter contests and stuff, and I was the art guy in high school, and so my junior and my senior year, I was a finalist in the National Scholastic High School Art Show. So it kind of put our school on the map, so it was kind of cool. And my mom, she worked at the high school. I haven't been talking a whole lot lately because I haven't had anybody in the studio. So, no, my mom worked at the high school, and she ran the copy machine. Back then, it was a mimeograph machine. Anyway, and in the spring of my junior year, she had a stroke at the high school and died the next day. I remember I was in gym class, and we were outside, and it was spring and it was cold, and I saw an ambulance pull up, and I'm like, when you're in high school, what's the first thing you think of when an ambulance pulls up? And it's 1976. Well, who overdosed this time? Who had the wrong acid or whatever? Because it happened. Well, sure enough, it was my mom. So that kind of sucked. So life. I stayed out of college for about a year and a half, and then I started in January, the second semester, which was difficult. I went to Illinois State because that's where my teacher went, and they let me in. Anyway, so I signed up for Ceramics 2, and the teacher just kind of said, and you don't need to be here. Why don't you just go across the hall to Advanced Ceramics? And I'm like, I've never been in. Okay. So I went over there and look what I can do. Yeah, I was able to throw as well as the grad student, but I was a snot-nosed kid, and I was there to learn, but, I've never been a cliquey, nobody, I did, so, anyway, didn't feel welcome in that department. Anyway, there was an art fair. Never did an art fair. Never did a demonstration in front of anybody before. And I think this is important to tell in the story. So I brought one of the wheels from college, and I put a ball of clay on the wheel, and all of a sudden there was 30 people around me. And I'm like, yeah, it was kind of weird. And so I started making a pot on the wheel, and this man came up on my right-hand side, and it messed me up for like 20 years. Because, see, I never really had anybody to talk to like, like when my son was in the Air Force, he could pick up his phone, and, it's 5 p.m. for him, but me, it's, 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, but he could do that. So I really wasn't really able to. So what do I do with this information? This man, he comes up on my right-hand side and he says, Johnny, see that man? See that man right there? That man's a man who makes pots, see? He takes clay and he spins it and he makes pots. So let's go. And so I'm sitting there going, I got a name for this look. It's the Tucker Carlson look. I've got it my whole life. It's like, well, what? And I'm sitting there going, is that all I am? A man who makes pots? Who cares? Messed me up for like 25 years. So, that's why you see paintings and pottery and sculptures. So I went from department to department in the Illinois State, making myself an outcast, and etc. So never really did get. Oh, I did get mentors, but probably not the right ones. So, and after college, I tried to move back home. Stayed with my brother. That didn't work. My sister, that didn't work. So I went back to Illinois State, and I thought, oh, I know this guy, and he's an artist in downtown Bloomington, and there's like this budding art community. So I got me a third floor flat, and there's a church on the first floor, and these two guys living on the second floor, and then it's got electricity. Great. So signed the lease. Come to find out, guess what? The electricity was hooked into the guys on the second floor, and they didn't want to share the electricity. So. So that was my Walden Pond experience. I lived for pretty much a year. Keep in mind, I'm probably 24-ish, 23, 4, 5. And I just turned 61. So anyway, yeah, I lived for almost a year. I had a white gas stove to heat up water, and one of these kerosene heaters, and it was quite romantic. But I finally did get electricity. But yeah, my friend slash mentorish guy, he was probably 10, 12 years older than me, but he was an artist in commercial art. And well, he was he invited me to a New Year's Day brunch. And well, at the time, keep in mind this is mid 80s, probably 84, 83, 84 at 5-ish, because I did a sculpture in Heads of State 1984. So it might have been that New Year's Day 84. My memory is anyway. So he's dating this Palestinian woman. She's getting her degree in abstract math or something. And so I'm invited to this New Year's Day brunch. And it's classic Arabic fare. He's got this couch, and there's big windows, and it's looking out over downtown Bloomington, and it's you know, all men. And keep in mind, I'm probably 23, and I'm like, and I get plopped down into a Middle Eastern conference, because literally, see, my friend's girlfriend, her brother was PLO, and there was a Syrian prince and some other Marxist guy there, and so several, pretty much everybody from the Middle East, but there weren't any Jews or any Iranians. And the food, like I said, it was classic Arabic fare, and it was just, and I'm a fly on the wall listening to this conversation. And well, keep in mind, I was raised Catholic, so I didn't really know anything about the Bible. And just spent 4 years in a liberal college. And so I'm sitting here listening to these people, and I'm like, you guys are going to freaking blow the world up. I'm thinking to myself. That was the summation of the conversation, was Iran was going to do something. And they did. I think it was the hostage or something. I can't remember what. Something. Anyway, the whole reason why I was trying. So why am I saying? So these guys kind of, they were scary. They're weird. I mean, but you know, that's, the whole world is scary. Inspired, like I said, a relief I did. Heads of State 1984. There was Reagan, Schultz, Perez, Shamir, and Chinyeko and Gromyko on the top, and Mubarak, Arafat, and Khomeini underneath. And it was 6 foot by 8 foot, and I fired it Raku style, if you know that firing. It's very fast. It was like, anyway. Anyway, and then it also inspired something else, and children out there don't do drugs. That's probably, well, anyway. I designed an ark, and like I said, it was about 24. These people were scary, and I could probably come up with a design again, but it anyway, totally self-reliant thing, because I thought, you know what, you, you people are going to wreck everything. And so I figured out how to do it. So if I could do this, I would have to do that. So here I am here. So all I have to do is do all these other things, and then it would happen. And then the two gay guys that owned the building, that had done a whole series of fraudulent real estate dealings all around town, skipped town, and the church on the first floor moved out, and then the two guys on the second floor moved out. And see, there used to be a skylight. And then, so the heat from the first two floors would come up to the third floor, and it would keep it warm. So, I didn't have to pay for heat. Well, so here I had figured out how to save everything. And then the cat's water dish was frozen. And I'm like, I can't even keep my cat's water dish. So, how dumb am I? So, I got on the phone, and I ended up moving up north, up to here, the Twin Cities, my sister. Anyway, where's my list here? Yep, I did that, and I talked about the ark, and also, see, that kind of scared the crap out of me. So what I did is, I'm like, what's going on here? So, like I said, I just started to read the Bible, and so what did I do? I went to the very end. Yeah, so I read Revelation, and I'm like, this is weird. Strange stuff happening. So, and there they are, right over there. You can see them. Right. So if I do with this with the camera, right there. Those are my Revelation drawings. Anyway. 186 of them I did with oil pastel, because what I did is I'd read the passage, draw a picture, read the passage, draw a picture. And my friend Charlie, he read for me, and I did a video on August 26th of 2020. So if you want to see the whole thing, all the drawings there on my YouTube page. Go back to August 26th. So there's a commercial for that. Thanks for laughing. I don't get any money for anything. So, anyway. So, the Revelation drawings, I'm like, I did them in two sections. And when I first started doing them, somehow I lost my job. And so I stopped doing the drawings and tried to get another job. And so I thought, so I started doing the drawings again, and I lost my job again. There's another sculpture that I did earlier. I lost my job twice doing these sculptures. Anyway, so I'm like, I'm going to finish these drawings. So I did, finished them. And I'm like, some weird stuff. So, long story. Well, that kind of inspired me to go back to college. Really, the drawings is what made me go back to college. Not really, well, yeah, it would have been nice to get a job, so I got another degree. So I have a bachelor's in art, 82 at Illinois State, and also a bachelor's broadcast communications with a minor in Bible from North Central in Minneapolis, 91. So, yeah, that didn't really help very much. Another degree that just, I've got tons of bills that I probably never pay off. But, so, jobs. My last, I was a bartender at the, when I was really young, at the Back 40 nightclub, the Sheridan, in Waukegan, Illinois, about a mile from the Great Lakes Naval Base. Oh, good God. Oh, and when I was back in Bloomington, I was a bartender in an Elks Lodge, and then in the mid '80s, probably '84, '85ish, I was the only white bartender in a black disco, and it was a blast. So anyway, but I was a cable guy for 8 years, and probably in over 10,000 homes. But I didn't mind the work, but after a couple of years of this, you know, I found myself flat on my back in the hospital with diverticulitis, getting 9 inches of my colon cut out. And I'm like, so we mortgaged the house. I better turn my volume down because this is, I felt it vibrating. So we mortgaged the house, and I built this place 15 years ago, and I've probably taken over 3,000 people by the hands and helped them make a pot on the wheel. So that's my, it's because so that's what I've been doing, and so, and there's a reason why I help people play with clay, because I don't chase after. God provides. Just recently I had a party scheduled for 6 people on Saturday, but it canceled because of the COVID. And then I just got another one, filled that up, space for 2 people, and then somebody else came in is doing studio. So, can take it. No, this has been going on for decades. I'm not worried. And that's where I'm going to get into the opinion part. I just had to introduce myself. Sorry it was a little long-winded, but this is who I am. I'm a real person, and I love people. I really do. And I don't say that flippantly, and it's been a lot of hard work to try and figure out how the hell to do that. So, okay, LA. Luckily, this is a blessing to me. 2 years ago, I got to be in a commercial for Yahoo Newsroom, which never aired. But they were looking for people with strong opinions, and next thing you know, I'm in Quixote Studios in LA giving my opinion. It was one of the highlights of my life, to be paid cash and flown across the country to express yourself. Oh, God. Anyway, there wasn't an election, my own personal opinion, in November. I didn't know what you want to. Well, I was calling it theater. That's what there was. And the other note I put down that corruption. I think that's most of Washington and the media. They don't know how to not be corrupt. They've been corrupt. It's a way of life. To be pure and holy is like something alien. So, if they were to, they're supposed to do some stuff tomorrow and say but if they were to do the whole election all over again, and people would show up in person and give their ID, picture ID, say, hey, I'm a citizen, and vote, there would have been a completely different, like I said, I grew up in the northern suburbs of Chicago, and my dad was an FBI agent in the 50s, and so I grew up in the northern suburbs of Chicago under Mayor Daley and listening to all this stuff in the news, and my dad used to work in downtown Chicago for years. Like I said, they don't know how to not be corrupt. Where do you think they learned election fraud? I think if history will ever allow to be I actually written down, this whatever that was that happened last November is probably going to go down as the most corrupt fiasco. I mean, what I'm trying to get to is, why do you hate a person so much, and you try for 3 years, and you can't? This is my own personal opinion, to get rid of it, and you can't. So then you create this pandemic thing to create fear. And oh, by the way, fear is not a new weapon of war. They've been using it for thousands of years. As long as you can keep the population afraid of their own shadow, you can do anything. Anyway, forgive me. I'm upset. If I feel like I'm watching these Revelation drawings I did 35 years ago, and I feel like I'm watching them come to life, and it's disturbing. So, well, I'm just going to say it. If things in this country don't change, there's going to be a war, global war, that people have never seen before. At the Revelation drawings, and okay, first you say, oh, complain to all this stuff, and there's no solutions. And why would it be happening? Well, one of the reasons that this country is probably being punished, it's because of the sculpture I have in the other room. No, it's because of abortion. And this is nothing new. Okay, they've been aborting babies for thousands of years. Okay, yeah. What is it? And I had looked it up because when I was going through Revelation, I'm like, okay. You make your own choice, your own decision. Okay, Revelation 14, 4 and 5. It talks about the 144,000, but they're innocent because they've never been. I can't remember the exact words because the words are, but it in a sense, it says they're innocent and without flaw, and have never been from a woman. How are that? So, in other words, it's all these babies that have been aborted. You know, back in the day, they used to they used to sacrifice babies to Molech, by the way, and that was 2,000 years ago. So yeah, they did it back then. You're still doing it now. So you look up that. Anyway, it just made sense to me that's because they're innocent, and anybody who's ever walked this earth we're all guilty. That's why we need Jesus. So, yeah, what I'm saying is, if you look at Revelation, it says that there will be a one world government, and then there will be probably the greatest war that has ever occurred, and probably an asteroid is also going to hit and cause global earthquakes. So, oh God, so what do I do? I didn't put this on here, but what's life for? My son, who's 27, when he was about 5.5, if you go on my website, you'll see these sculptures that I did a long time. And he was about 5.5, and I was tucking him into bed, And he looked up and goes, "What's life for?" And I went, and about 3 seconds later, because see, that's the deepest question anybody will ever ask, and the greatest minds have ever walked this planet have all failed to answer that question. What is life for? They've all failed. So 3 seconds later, he sits up, and he goes, "I know. It's to have fun and to love." Well, the prophecy is always subject to the prophet. And the prophet at that time, the person who God was talking to was a 5.5-year-old. The translation, why am I here? What's life for? To enjoy the gift. Life is a gift. Enjoy the gift of now. And be loving and kind and respectful of people. Share God's love with others. That's all. Not asking anything more. So, that's a secret right there. But all this, you know what? Enjoy what you have in the breath and look back and say, my goodness, I've been taking care of all this stuff, and yeah, he takes care of the sparrow. Aren't you more important than a sparrow? So that's one thing I've learned as doing this getaway day in the clay, because every time someone comes, I take your hands. And and I get through the barrier, and I try to love and respect every single person. And see, that's what I wrote down here, is you have to, and I respect that everybody's vulnerable. That's what we're all very. That's why we create these walls in front of us, because we're all so vulnerable. It's scary. But like I said, love and respect, but while still protecting yourself. So, now I wrote down here a quote that I remember from some philosophy class, Pascal. And it's pretty much, when talking about metaphysics, if I'm right and you're wrong, then, well, wait, let me rephrase it. If you're right and I'm wrong, then at least I've lived a good life and I feel good about myself. But if I'm right and you're wrong, so really, it all comes down to faith and belief. What do you think? What do you believe? So, and quite simply, I'm going to go there anyway. So what do you believe? So, really, what I believe. And so, yes, there's probably going to be war and shit happen. But what do I believe? I believe Jesus is God. So, and that goes back to if I believe Jesus. So if you don't, well, then at least, I've lived a good life. If I'm right, I've been doing a lot of thinking. And this is my theory of everything. So, because you can't just think about one tiny little thing. You have to include everything. So, and I like physics and science and all that. So, here we go. Everything was created from nothing. More happened in the first second than has happened since. Everything was set up. Okay, I'm using the Science Channel and how the universe works. That's where I'm getting some of these quotes. Okay? There, I gave credit to the great TV series. And actually, also the Japanese, I can't pronounce his name. So, because the 2 episodes was how the universe is going to end and how it was created. Those 2 episodes that I watched, and I apply it to all the rest of the stuff that I've learned in the Bible. So, I think the first battle between good and evil happened before the first second of creation was over with, and that's right when everything was set in place and it was all, and then there was the battle between matter and antimatter, and most everything was annihilated. And stepping ahead, 5% was what's left, or whatever percent, small part. Anyway. Stepping forward hundreds of millions of years, and then you have the baby picture of the universe. Now, according to the Science Channel, they had something that's called a phase transference, which means when quantum physics changes from one state to another. Well, in the first second of creation, so much happened that there was, according to what there were several phase transferences in the first second of creation. And then really there hadn't been another one. Well, we got a picture of it, the background microwave radiation picture. Well, really there hasn't been another phase transference. Everything hasn't changed since. So, now, God created everything, and it's pure and holy. And the devil said, fuck you. Boom. And almost nothing, and okay, nearly 14 billion years pass. And in that time, oh, God, hydrogen, boom, stars making, and explosions and super stars smashing together and making metals so that we can have these phones and that camera and all that, everything else. Because, huge stars had to explode, and that's what you're made of. And it's amazing. So, while you think one thing is destroying, but it's actually creating. So, Jesus, now this is where my theory, and I'm trying to pull this all together, the science and metaphysics together. Really? Yeah. So, since Jesus is God, he's everything, and he finds his creation and this earth, and he's been working on building life for like millions and millions of years on this tiny little blue dot, because hey, I'm trying to, anyway. So he finally gets to the point where I'm ready to save it all. I don't think I really told this story this way. But anyway, so Christmas happens. The Heavenly Father steps into his own creation in the form of a son. So that makes him 100% man and 100% omni-everything. Pretty scary. So now, because see, the Father is holy and he cannot be here because this world is corrupt. The Father is incorruptible. He's pure, holy. Hard to figure out. Getting to there. So, Jesus, being 100% God, died to save us from our sins. We've heard that a million times. Yes, he did, because people are really important to him. Because in order for him to step into his own creation, he had to create people that could choose between good and evil just like he can. Now, my son's cat is a cat, and it only attacks and gets into the butter and does things because it's a cat. It doesn't choose to be wrong. It's a cat. People can choose to be evil. Just watch the news. Anyway, so, but then he's created a very vulnerable species. Yes, they had to in order for him to step into his own creation. So, and this is where I'm getting to the crazy part. You're not crazy, are you? What if? And see, this answers Romans 8 and Revelation 22. Anyway, what if? Yes, Jesus died for our sins, but what if he stepped in this creation and sacrificed his life to save everything? Everything. I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense. Because since he's unlimited, then it has unlimited benefit. So I'm watching the Science Channel and how the universe is going to end, die, or whatever. And right at the very last 5 minutes, they spent the whole show talking about, well, it's either a big crunch or it's going to fall away or nothing. And in the last 5 minutes, I forget I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, but and he says, well, there's a third choice. It's called a phase transference. And he goes, it would happen at the speed of light, and you'd never see it coming. It would have, boom, like blink of an eye. I'm like, that answers Romans 8, where all of creation will be loosed from its bondage to decay and brought into freedom of the children of God. And it also answers in Revelation where it says the old is going to pass away and there'll be a new. And because the other thing, which so what I'm saying is, and which is really hard to grasp, is everything's going to change on the quantum level where there'll be no more death, no more corruption. Because if the Bible is true, the only way for the Heavenly Father to set his throne on earth, because what it says is exactly that, is for earth to be without corruption. And just by watching the evening news, we know that the earth is not without corruption. So, but what can I do to save? What? And you know, that was that other verse. I didn't write it down, but it was last chapter of Revelation, verse 11. So it's 22:11. In a nutshell, it says, let the bad people, you can't stop the bad people from being bad. So, they're going to be, let the good be good and let the holy be holy. And he's going to, he's the judge, not me. But, so really, but just as I am, yes. Yep, the stuff's going to go bad, and it can be, but it doesn't have to be that way for you. So, and but what if I don't know about tomorrow, but what the heck's going to happen? I don't. What, am I going to be able to feed my children and my This just for example, Mudslinger pottery. Okay, this thing here. Tomorrow's my 15th anniversary, and I celebrate September 1st as my Emancipation Day. It's when I told Comcast to take a flying bleep. 13 years ago, by the way. So, I mean, so even for the last 13 years, I mean, God has always provided. There's always been money there for me to pay my bills, and there's stuff over so I can have some cigarettes and whiskey but it's always there. See what I'm saying? He always and here's you always have to learn the lesson of the manna. What's that, Captain Muds? Well, when the Israelites were wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, if they God provided food for them. All they had to do was collect it. But if they tried to take too much, it just turned moldy and worms. Yeah, there's a shitstorm out there. But it doesn't have to be that way for you. Everybody's vulnerable. Everybody's hurting. Everybody's struggling. Everybody's trying to do the best they can. So, be loving and kind and respectful of others. And a fun thing is when I finish all my shows and when people leave the studio, I try to say, make a stranger smile, just for the fun of it. It's free. Peace. And whatever happens tomorrow, Jesus is my Savior. And I'm aight. Yameen. Ja feel?